Hey O-Gage fans, this is Joe with another video, and I just wanted to share my thoughts on a couple of things I've been thinking about. If you watched my last video, there was some thoughts I had about the hobby I wanted to share with you. And one of the things that I've noticed recently, over the last couple of years, I'd have to say is, especially with my son and his friends, talking to them, is I'm not seeing a lot of younger kids getting into this hobby. And I could be wrong about this. I don't know, but I just don't see. Now, my son gets into this stuff once in a while. He's interested. He likes to come down and watch them, and he's very encouraging. He thinks it's really neat and everything like that. If you saw my last video, I talked about some of these customizing cars I did, and he thinks that's all great and everything. But as far as coming down and helping me run the trains and learn how they work and everything, he's not really into it. I don't really want to force it on him either, but and I've noticed his friends are the same way too. But I think what the problem, or maybe not the problem, the situation might be, is I think the competition from video games is so fierce for this hobby, and probably for a lot of other things, whether it be trains, whatever scale, model building, even sports maybe, I don't know. I just think that the competition from that stuff is just so fierce that maybe companies like MTH, Lionel, maybe they just don't know what to do. I mean, I don't know, to get more kids into the hobby. Maybe they need to advertise a little bit more, maybe television. How long has it been since we've seen a Lionel commercial? You know what I mean? Or never seen an MTH television commercial. Maybe the hobby's changing. Maybe this isn't the type of hobby you get into as a kid. I mean, I got into it when I was young. Every year we had a layout underneath the tree. It was kind of like an annual thing. I didn't have a permanent layout at our house, but we always had a layout underneath the tree. We bought different pieces for it over the years. And, when I got married and we bought the house, it was one of the first things. I couldn't wait to put a layout up. But I'd have to say I'd probably been into the hobby since I've probably been, 10, 12 years old. And then, again, it was an annual thing we did every year around Christmas time. But it was always with me. I always considered myself a toy train, hobbyist. But I don't know if personally, I don't think Lionel and MTH are doing enough to get the younger kids into the hobby. Now, maybe I'm wrong. But as I mentioned, advertising, I'm not seeing any advertising, things like that. Maybe it's something because, times have changed. A lot of single parents out there. Maybe because a lot of kids live with their mom nowadays. A lot of kids live with their grandparents nowadays. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. I could be wrong about that. I don't know. Or maybe this is the type of hobby you don't get into until you're a little bit older. Maybe that's changed about the hobby. Maybe this is not so much a hobby for kids anymore like it used to be. I don't know. I see Lionel putting out a lot of new starter sets, some nice starter set stuff that you can get. Over the years, they've put out their new expansion packs, which are a very good deal. I don't think cost is the type of issue it might have been 10 years ago. I think you can get into this hobby relatively inexpensively, but I don't see the big two doing, I think, enough to bring the younger kids into the hobby. And as I mentioned, maybe it's changed in a way that this isn't the type of hobby you get into as a little kid anymore. I mentioned my son, he's 13, and, he doesn't knock it, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't have the real interest that I had when I was his age, especially around the holidays. But, if you let him go, he'd be upstairs on the Xbox playing Call of Duty 10, 12 hours straight. He would do that if we let him, but, maybe this is something you don't get into until you're a little bit older now. I don't know. What I am seeing, though, is I am seeing the local hobby shops in my area doing what they can to get the younger kids into the hobby. Train shows that are sponsored by my local hobby shops. They're very customer friendly when you walk into these places. The prices are very, I think, very reasonable for a lot of the items. I mentioned the starter sets and the expansion sets that Lionel's been putting out. I think that's one of the best things you could have done. They could have done in a long time. There's a lot of, we always talk about the advances in technology with the DCS and the legacy systems, the Proto 2 engines, the legacy engines, all this, and that's all great. I love it. Don't get me wrong, but you're not going to spend $400 or $500 on an engine and give it to a 14-year-old kid. You're not going to do that. But I think one of the better things that they did is they started making the starter sets and the expansion sets, which makes it a little bit more affordable to expand your layout, things like that. Maybe that's something they have to do. Maybe more advertising. I don't know, but I do know that I do see my local hobby shops doing what they can to get kids into the hobby. And the one hobby shop that I go to is has expanded hours now, and they're doing what they can to get the younger kids into the hobby. They're advertising, store displays, things like that, trying to get the younger kids. Yeah, I guess it's stuff they've always done, but I was talking to one of the owners of the hobby shop, and he said the summertime obviously is a very tough time for these guys, especially for trains, selling trains and things like that. But yeah, I think I'd like to see Lionel and MTH do more to get kids in the hobby. My father-in-law has a huge HO layout in his basement, and my nephew, my two nephews, who my two nephews, even with that big gigantic layout in his house, I don't see them getting into it. Like if I was their age and my grandfather had this huge gigantic layout in his house, boy, I'd be over there helping him every day doing stuff and running the trains, but I don't see them doing that, and I think I'd like to see, I don't know if the HO guys are seeing the same thing, I don't know. I could be way off base, I could be wrong about this stuff, but I think I'd like to see, Lionel and MTH do more to get the younger kids into the hobby. Maybe they just don't know how to handle it with the stiff competition from video games. Maybe they're not sure how to handle it. Or, like I said, maybe it's something you get into when you're a little bit older now. I'm not sure. But I don't think the hobby's in danger. I don't think it's going to fall off or anything like that. I don't think anything like that. I just like to see more people get into it at a younger age. And there's some out there. I've seen it at train shows, and especially when I go to around the holidays, you have the temporary layout set out that you can go and visit. But I'd like to see Lionel and MTH do a little bit more. And I'd like to see us who are already in the hobby, maybe we need to do a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe we could start inviting people in to see your layouts and show them how much fun this hobby can be. And maybe, invite, like I said, I've had my son and his friends down here looking at the layout, and they like it and everything, but maybe I could get them to help me do some things on the layout. Maybe I could, ask them. I've asked them a couple of times. You want to learn how to use the, DCS system, things like that. Learn how to start up the engines. Most of the time, they're just not interested in it. And maybe that's something that, on my level, my small little level here, I can work on. But I really would like to see MTH and Lionel be the leaders in bringing younger kids into the hobby. I mean, it would be really nice to see. But, I appreciate all the comments and people looking at my videos and all the messages I get. I look at them all. I really appreciate it. Hey, if I'm off base, if I'm wrong about this stuff, you have any criticism, let me know. I'd really be interested in what other people thought about younger people getting into the hobby. So, let me know, and thanks for watching. Bye.